So hi there movie fans, and welcome to another edition of Movies. This time I'm looking at a movie called Aporia, starring Judy Greer, Eddie Gathegi and Payman Mardi, and directed by Jared Mosh. Hopefully I got their names right. Now we have Sophie, who's played by Judy Greer, and she's lost her husband Mal, and he was killed by a drunk driver. This leaves Sophie with her daughter Riley all alone in the world, apart from they have a friend of Mal's named Jabir. Now they're all grieving in their own way. Sophie's obviously upset at losing her husband, Jabir misses his friend, and the daughter Riley is taking it bad and becoming disruptive. This, as you would think, is quite normal under these circumstances. And then one day Jabir, who was an ex-physicist, reveals that he and Mal, before Mal died, had been working together on a time machine. Now this time machine is not a big flashy piece of equipment with lights flashing everywhere. And it's not like others where you personally go backwards or forwards in time. This time machine is where you can change a moment in time. This machine can kill a target in the past. So at this stage, it's more like a weapon. It can only do one thing, and that is to speed up abstract particles in one specific location in space-time. As Jabir explains in layman's terms, it's like firing a bullet into the past. Now when you alter the past, what comes after the event will be slightly altered in the ripple effect. In order to bring her husband back by an intervention would mean that the drunk driver would have to die. Sophie agrees that this is acceptable as the drunk driver has murdered her husband. Either her husband dies or the drunk driver dies. So to her, it's not a problem. But as the film progresses, she sees the consequences of what this will do to his remaining family. And the guilt starts. Was it morally right to do this? The moral dilemma gets worse for Sophie as it starts eating away at her. And we also have Jabir, who wants to use the machine to stop a shooter killing 20-odd kids. But will this change future events? It kind of reminds me of a movie called See You Yesterday from 2019, or an older 2007 Spanish film called Time Crimes. And it reminds me of those in the fact that every time they change something, they keep messing it up. And they have to go back and rechange events over and over to try and correct the timeline. Now they're not very well known movies, those two, but if you haven't seen them, it's worth tracking them down for a watch, especially if this genre is your sort of thing. There's a whole conundrum of possibilities when you alter the past. And this movie deals with the moral issue of changing one thing that could lead to all sorts of things happening, as we clearly see later on in the movie. I like the whole time travel concept, so I enjoyed this. As I said, it's a different spin on it because they don't actually travel back in time themselves. And it's more about the moral dilemma of whether to use the machine or not. What or who are you willing to sacrifice to get what you want? And when you get it, how does it sit with you? Do you feel guilty? Do you feel guilty about what you've done? Is that guilt eating away at you from the inside? So it's very thought-provoking. In all, it's a very emotional movie about the grief of losing someone, and is it ethical to bring them back at any cost? It's a movie that I liked. It can be a little slowish for some viewers, so just because it's about time travel, don't expect Back to the Future. You don't get the full-on action of that movie. What you do get is plot holes and paradoxes, but isn't that always the way when you mess with the timeline continuum? What you get is a thought-provoking movie about making decisions that will take someone's life in order to satisfy your own desires. As I said, I enjoyed this movie. It may be lacking in pace and there's no flashy effects for people who are easily pleased. It clearly didn't have a big budget. But I don't think for 1 minute that money would have made this any better. It's a movie to get you thinking. What would you do to bring someone back? And if you did, how would you feel about it? And then, what have your actions changed in the timeline? I found it entertaining, and I would give it about a 6 out of 10, which 6 out of 10 is above average. There are better films in this genre, but I felt this looked at things in a different way, and that made it more original. Well, maybe not original, maybe that's the wrong word, but it gave a different spin on this genre. It was more about the choices, the dilemmas and their consequences, rather than just about time travel. So thank you for watching. We'd love you to give us a like or subscribe. We currently have 59 subscribers, and it would be so cool if we could get it up to 100. That'd be great. So please feel free to comment. We love to get feedback from you, and hopefully you'll tune in next time for more of our amateur movie reviews.